like to have a diverse circle of people around me, but I've got to say, my favorite, my favorite people are the uninhibited, unconventional, wild women who are not afraid to tell it like it is. And I'm not going to delay beginning this episode so that you can feel that and hear that from today's guest, Melissa Louise, who is an Australian woman living in Mexico, doing work in person, I believe, as well as online with people around the world around intimacy and pleasure and connection and relationship and bringing back that aliveness, bringing back that spark. And as her bio says, Melissa is someone who truly embodies that how we do life is how we do sex. Welcome to this provocative and heartfelt podcast where patriarchy is defined as a paradigm that both men and women uphold in different ways. Here you get to listen in on genuine conversations between leaders from around the world to discover more mutual respect and less division, as well as more pleasure and love in your life. My name is Devashi Shakti, and you are warmly welcome to be part of these Beyond Patriarchal Sex conversations. Well, we are back on the podcast with Melissa Louise, who I haven't really met yet before now, and she is your absolute pleasure advocate, is her title, which is very fun. So I'm looking forward to finding out more about you, Melissa Louise. Would you like to add anything more to that?
I mean, that statement of your absolute pleasure advocate, I work with women about claiming their pleasure because for their health, for so many different aspects of their life, no matter what their relationship status is, it doesn't matter how old they are, and also really supporting men to fully be in their pleasure so they can show up, for their women or for their partners, whoever they're with. To me, pleasure is that, it's the cornerstone of our life. It needs to be right in the center of our life for health reasons as well as fun reasons. So yeah, it's
Yes.
a play on words of necessity, really.
So it's the cornerstone of our life, and you help people to make it more central, I understand. Like,
Mm.
those of us that have taken that journey to realize that that's true, that the
Mm.
pleasure, that eros can be the center or, a very core part of our lives rather than something depleted, something that doesn't get attention. And because there's a lot of people in the world that wouldn't see it like that, right?
And also what I often hear, and I used to hear it a lot more, but as we're sort of more, I get deeper and deeper into the world, pleasure is often placed as something that we need to earn. Pleasure is something that is like, if we're lucky on a Sunday type thing, or if we're so steeped in pleasure, then we are unresponsive, we're irresponsible, unresponsive. I hope you're unresponsive to the outside world. Yeah, it's kind of like it's frivolous. Like, I mean, I know that's how I was raised, especially being raised in, South Australia and raised on the land where everything else is, sort of the center of life, like you're tethering to something else outside of you, as opposed to we run our life through our pleasure. As you said, like, the word eros, that gets, a lot of people sort of know that word now, it's, sort of in these worlds, but it is the cornerstone of the health for a woman. I mean, if we just look at hormonal differences where a woman has 13 to 15% of testosterone available to her at any time than a man's body. After a woman has used that 15%, which in our modern day world is around 8:45, I think, maybe 9:30, maybe 10 a.m. in the morning, the body starts producing cortisol. And so many women have spent 4 decades living off cortisol because they're not rebooting. Like, we need to have pleasure, a pleasure break, You know, that's also too what happens when we say the word, well, I find, you know, if I use the word pleasure, people straight away think about sex, you know, around intimacy, as opposed to the pleasure of eating a strawberry, the pleasure of just fully cuddling your dog and and just giggling as you're doing that, because that pushes dopamine gets produced, and dopamine, high levels of dopamine and high levels of oxytocin cannot exist in a woman's body at the same time. We have high levels of oxytocin. What gets rid of oxytocin? Oxytocin is dopamine. So to be an advocate for pleasure is actually, I could call myself Dr. Melissa. It's like, you know, it's so necessary, but because we've cornered it into sexuality, we're missing out on the huge, immense world of pleasure that we
Yes.
need to exist in. So yeah.
So pleasure breaks, as you said, for women through the day. Yes, it's not just sexual, is it? It can be pleasure in a lot of different ways.
Mm. You know, it also brings more to that, you know, stop and smell the roses. Like everyone was like raised on this, you got to stop and smell the roses. Well, what does that feel like to stick you know, like to truly dive your nose into the rose and feel the petals and fully smell it and open your heart to the rose and oh my God, rub your face with oh my God, you know, 15 minutes later, you've had this love affair with the rose, you've fully smelled it. It's like, boom, okay, let's get back to it, you know?
Yes, yes, as though the productivity rather than the reproductivity or regenerative things that we can be doing, that's the patriarchal mindset that we've been brought up with, isn't it?
It's, you know, I speak with this over and over and over with my male clients. The female menstrual cycle, our bleed, is so dismissed and not considered in any cultural form of living that you know, productivity is being given to us as a linear concept, the testosterone way of doing things. A man is governed by the sun, a woman is governed by the moon. And I even brought this up. Someone sent me something the other day, and yes, I mean, and I'm not denoting any form of spiritual faith or anything like that as wrong or, you know, different. But even when we look at, I think it was, I'm not even going to say what it was sent to me actually under what denotion. But even when we look at, when people talk about, we don't ever dismiss the sun for how it shines, you know, and when we're in the darkness of the night, we need to remember about the sun. Even in that sort of this very misogynistic way of speaking about father son, it's like the sun is what we're going for the day. We are governed by the moon, the darkness, like when there is no moon, you know, the slither of a moon, there's so much power and medicine in that. The full moon, the medicine, but we're always talking about things that need to get done during the day. We need to rest at night so we can get things done during the day. The woman is dismissed in every single aspect of our life.
Yes.
Every single aspect. Farming, it's always done under the sun, whereas like I can't remember which one it is. There is a way of where they go out into the moon and they put, you know, all of the different herbs and the blood and the bone. I can't remember, I've lost the name of it, but it's done in a horn shell, you know, done under a moon. Like that is the
Yeah.
feminine way of tethering to soil. Nothing in our current culture existence actually includes the other half of existence. It's like we
Mm,
all have to live in this. It's like having a circle cut in half and everyone's got to live over here.
yeah. Yeah. It
We're
is
ignoring this
something.
part. It's like, but everyone's here because a woman bleeds. Everyone is here through the womb of a woman,
Exactly.
but we still have to work under the sun. It's mind-boggling to me. It's so mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. So on a sort of social collective level, what would it look like if we were not all just working for the sun like that? What else do you see as possible?
So, I mean, this is like the coexistence. So women would be working according to their cycle. And girls, as soon as a girl starts bleeding, she's not doing school exams 2 days before her cycle starts. She's not to go to school on the day of her bleed. It's like, oh my God, I hadn't even thought of it. This came up on my feed the other day. Like, this is talking about menstrual products. When we go out into when we go to restaurants, even public restrooms, public toilets, what is available is toilet paper because men get to use it. What is not available for half of the population are products that women need to use for their cycle.
Yes.
We have to pay for it.
With tax.
Men, with tax, but men don't pay for toilet paper.
Yeah. Yeah, very good
And
point.
we don't have to pay for toilet paper because men don't have to pay for
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So I got a bit sidetracked. What would it look like? We would, girls straight off, girls wouldn't go to school whilst they bled. You're not to be present in life when your body is releasing the lining of what has been gathered, the emotions, the learning, the different seasons that have been gathering to be released every month. 2 to 3 days before her bleed, the dark moon, it's like no studying, no taking tests, no doing sports. I mean, we are so powerful and so emotionally capable that we will go and play soccer and ride horses and take exams and show up as a CEO whilst we're bleeding. We're so damn capable
Yes,
that we
just
do.
like the tampon advertisements give those visuals of this is what you could do, this is what you should be doing. You should be continuing like normal no matter what. That's the messaging from society.
Yeah. Yeah. Show up like a guy. You've got to act like a man, which means nothing changes,
Yeah.
you know? And a huge, so yes, so women working with I was going to get further ahead. I'm going to stay with this topic. Working with our cycles, running our families under the cycle, our own cycle, and where the partner if there's a family dynamic, relationship dynamic, this is where community comes into it. The family dynamic is actually governed by the female moon cycle. It's like, because when we're ovulating, when we're in full summer, under the full moon, and if we're ovulating under the full moon, we have so much energy. That's when we take over. It's like, babe, I've got it. I've got the kids for the next 5 days. No problem. No problem. Boom. And there's still going to be sex, and there's still going to be kids. It's like everything's, yeah, it's okay, it's awesome. And then we're coming out of that. I actually just hopped off a call, my client before. So, his expression was, he was in so much like, for him, it's like when I left home, because he goes away for his work, they were cuddling and his wife was, and things are shifting and moving. It's like, things were really great. And it's like, I came back to a completely different woman. I'm like, yeah, you have. 6 days later,
Yes.
completely different season.
Yes.
And also she's been looking after the children for 5 days. And that's, but it's, yes. And because we're not raised in a culture to accept that, the woman's insane for being different. We can unpack this in so many ways within a relationship of what's come to that. I'm not saying it's like there's always two existences alongside of each other. But the fact that the woman is completely different every 7 days, let alone every day, needs to be an accepted norm.
Yep. 100%. Yes. And instead, she's seen as inconsistent and what else? Like unreliable and so these ideas they seep in and women tend to internalize them and think of themselves that way, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something I hadn't actually thought about before, in correlating this until just now, is because a woman's changing her mind all the time, because every moment's different. In a woman's body, every moment is different. And
Yeah.
so if you think of the moon in the sky, the moon is never stagnant. So when we go into planets and we go to where the moon is, it's all on degrees and times. So at 7:17, the full moon's going to rise. But the next day, the full moon's rising at a different time. It's not 7:17. It's not at all. It can't be. And so that is how we are. We are completely different. We will be, it's like, you know, it's, yeah, we are. And there's no space for that in our current cultural narrative. The
Yeah.
only space that is available is the sun gets up at this time and you've got to go to work.
Yes. And the hormonal fluctuations for a woman's body that you were talking about. So, did you say 9:30 in the morning? There is more cortisol that can come in. So, what would be like an ideal plan of the day in that case for a woman?
So when I say 9:30, it's like I'm looking at the generic, you know, if especially if it's a mother, but the genericness of like getting up, getting the kids' lunches, getting them to school, going to work. So by the time you reach 9:30, we've just like had like immense hours and the kids arguing and the kids getting to school late and then you're running late to work or you're getting to work and it's like the kids have been crying, all of this stuff. So by the time you get to 9:30, it's like we need a break, you know,
Okay,
we need
yeah.
a break. So yeah. So a work day for a woman is the constant, like you would set, I set alarms on my phone. So if I'm about to get into writing, I'm about to get into something, I'll set alarms. So an alarm for every 2 hours just to get up and do a shake. Like I don't have those stresses anymore. My son doesn't, you know, my son's grown up and he doesn't live with me. And I run my own business. And even though I, you know, do a few different things, it's like I manage myself of like, I need these breaks. I'm going to go and lay in the sun. I'm going to shake. You know, I also look at too, if I have to go and get something, I'm going to do I'm going to move I'm like, okay, I've got a space between 12 and 1. I'm doing a walk or a power walk. I'm having a cold shower. I'm eating chocolate. Like 3 p.m. It's like the cacao with like all of the stuff that I find pleasurable. I have a huge list. Whereas I normally have a feather duster, like sometimes too, if it's like this feather, because I'm essential. So for me, pleasure is like I've got these feathers, especially being in Mexico too. It's like you can buy them off the street, these men that walk around with these huge things of hot pink feather dusters, you know, purple feather dusters, whatever it is. And I just rub my neck with the feather duster. You know, I go and lay on my huge, big, white, fluffy rug and just roll around. Like I'll get naked and do that. And that's like, sometimes it'll be 3 minutes, sometimes it's 15. It's like, what do I need? And then I'm back. Whew, da-da-da, getting rid of the cortisol, you know?
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Instead
So,
of just sitting at your desk all day. Sorry.
yes, yes, because you know how I said before, the perception socially is that woman is inconsistent, you know, not productive enough, all that kind of thing that a woman tends to internalize. But the thing is, we are inconsistent because the moon is constantly changing. And that's just how it is. And that's not a bad thing. You know, there's an
Not a
enormous
bad.
range, right? So
Mm,
I love how what you're saying is owning that inconsistency actually and making intentional pauses, intentional breaks to come back to a state of pleasure, come back to a state of sensual, you know, embodied awareness so that you
mm-hmm.
are just pouring yourself into productivity mode and then being predictably depleted at the end of that day, week, month, years.
Well, I mean, to speak further down the track of that, this is why we have what we call in our society menopause. Our body, a woman's body is not designed to turn in on her.
Yeah,
If we think of that logically, if you think of a species, why would a species exist where it's so problematic to exist? That doesn't make sense. We cannot survive. There's no way we would have gotten here if our ancestors had the menopause that we have created. We wouldn't exist because a species cannot survive so problematically. Yet we have created this problematic, insane existence for women, and it's our fault. Everything's our fault. Do you know what I mean? It's like everything's our fault, the drama, the emotions. And what I find really funny, this is why I love the topic, because we're going down the rabbit hole of women are too emotional. Violent crimes are done by over 95% of men. The horrendous statistic of male suicide. compared to female suicide. That's over emotion. That is not
Mm.
being able to handle our emotions. It is
Yes.
not women who cannot handle their emotions at all. It is men who cannot handle their emotions. And yet it's put on us that we're over emotional.
Yeah.
No, I'm hormonal. I've got different hormones in this. And my hormonal makeup today is different than 3 days ago. Yeah. But women, there's actually parts, I can't remember the part, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a part in the back of the female brain that has a huger capacity to handle life, to handle situations. But we are bullied, so bullied from the moment we start bleeding to exist like men, and this perception that we can't be CEOs and we can't show up in government and all of this stuff. And I have a theory. Is this governments see all of these industries that are male dominated? They need to be dominated men, because if it was half women, they would be showing up incredibly
Yeah.
so.
It'd be all
It'd be
run
so obvious.
extremely differently.
Yeah, it'd
Yeah.
run so smoothly that the way that the masculine run things, government, all of that stuff would just be, it'd be so glaringly obvious. So they
Yes.
need to keep it male centric and keep the women out so it doesn't get shown up.
Yes. It's like the understanding that women aren't logical enough, and yet the power of non-linear logic, if I call it that, is what is missing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Different
yeah.
kind of intelligence, different kind of awareness, different kind of wisdom that would probably solve a lot of problems,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
So many. I mean, when we look at original medicine, the original medicine, I mean, of course, I wasn't there. But the concept of what mushroom is uh, poisonous to take, what leaves are poison, it comes from the nonlinear thought, the dreams, the intuition, the knowledge. It wasn't like that comes from the feminine way of being, which
Yeah,
men have a feminine, men have a lot of intuition. They have no chance to cultivate it.
yeah,
These parts within the masculine body that are highly incredible that they never even get to cultivate. And that is the feminine aspect of intuition, of their silence. Because also too, when we're looking at the patriarch, it completely fails men. It serves the very few. It doesn't serve men either. Men living in a relationship with a woman and children that's not governed by her menstrual cycle, and where she's not being able to alchemize it, he is missing out.
oh, he'll be suffering.
Well, look at it. Look at our divorce rates. Look at like family dynamics. Everyone's suffering. There's
Yes,
no joy. The wildness and the joy and the celebration is missing from so many people's relationships and lives.
yes. It's like at the very least, whatever the career world is, at least at home, it could be more authentic, more like a real organic life, which is the woman understanding herself and that way of being permeating the home. But even that isn't happening in a lot of cases. But what we're really saying here and what you've put forward is if that presence, if that acknowledgement of the feminine, it being in contrast to the masculine, were kind of permeated throughout society, things
Yeah,
would look very different, you know?
very big difference. Yeah, very different.
Yeah.
When it's quite interesting when I work with clients around time, and that, it's like, oh, but what about weekends? And what about all of this stuff when we're looking at the difference between the masculine and the feminine? And JD Mason taught this to me, actually, another amazing Australian woman, years ago when I first met her in women's circles. And she broke it down to me where it's like, okay, let's look at, weekends where the patriarchal way is like Monday to Friday to go to work, even though none of us have that anymore. But Monday to Friday, we have weekends off. Yeah. So every month, the Gregorian calendar month, we're meant to have 8 days off of rest. In a woman's cycle, we have the same thing. We have 28 days of So we have 8 days of rest. It's just that they're all in a row.
Yeah.
The dark leading up to the dark moon, the few first days of her bleed. Those, so in a Gregorian calendar, you've got 20 days of work and 8 days rest. Well, we do too. We have 20 days of high production. When you come into the maiden, you come into your summer, and then you're in your spring, all of this stuff is like boom, 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 the spring and the everything is like, let's go, and
Yes.
we have 20 days straight. And that's when we're in hyper productivity. So we work it all out. And then it's like coming down, the rest. So we just do it. We have the same, we just do it differently.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
cool.
And with most women not being able to live in a way that honors this natural harmony and having to, force, and it does take force after some time, no matter how much you might enjoy the content of the work, the experience around the lifestyle around it is not in harmony with the female body. And so not only are women trying to fit themselves into that, they're also having patriarchal sex on top of it because they don't even know that it is that. And society is just in this such dominance of the male experience because that's how things were set up in the first place. And it still hasn't quite shifted. And there's a lot of repercussions from that, there's a lot of consequences from that. So I
Mm-hmm.
love how you've explained, which is, it just sounds basically like a lack of intimacy with life that women are, experiencing and not experiencing that intimacy with life. And then that has a lot to do with not being even able to discern that patriarchal sex is even happening, right? On that level where both people tend to think, well, that's just sex, that's just how you do it, that's just what you do. That's what all the movies show us. That's what, yeah.
Movies are not even long enough for a woman to get turned on, let alone the scene that they shove in your face about it. Under what pretense?
Yeah, it's so not real, so not realistic. Yes. So I feel like you've done really well describing, I mean, we could keep going as well because it's very interesting how this shows up on a social collective level, not just a personal level. But they
Mhm.
have an interaction in a very obvious way to women like you and I. But how about your definition, Melissa, of what patriarchal sex might be? Because there's so many different ways of describing it, but how does it come to you in this moment?
Yeah, two things actually. So there's a narrative that women take too long. Women never take too long. Men never take long enough. I shouldn't say never. I'm not going to use the word. Women never take too long. Men do not take long enough.
Yes.
That's like this whole narrative that, oh, I take too long or there's something wrong with me. And then also the narrative is like, I can't orgasm with penetrative sex. No shit, Sherlock. You're receiving penetration way too early your entire life.
Yeah.
And also the body holds it. As we know, and this is what I find really interesting, is, and sorry for saying no shit, Sherlock, I just like being in this thing is like that statement of we take too long. It's like, oh, she takes too long and I've got to do all of these things. And it's like, okay, we'll start having sex with men. If that bothers you, if learning about if a woman takes too long and you've got to do all of these things, then sure, not a problem. I get that it's annoying to you. So stop having sex with women. Seriously, stop it. Because most men, I shouldn't say most, the majority of sexual experience is so often a man using a woman's body instead of his hand. He's
Yeah.
basically masturbating with a vagina.
Yes.
And patriarchal sex means that women are not empowered enough to have excuse me, no. If that's what you want, beautiful. Sit back and masturbate, beautiful. Sit in the chair, sit in the throne, and let me watch you masturbate. You don't get to use my body that way. If you don't want to take time, that's fine, but you don't get entrance.
Yes.
It's not shame. It's like, okay, awesome. You don't want to take time? Awesome. sit on the throne and let me watch you, and I'm gonna ooh and I'm gonna ah, and maybe I'm gonna turn myself on, and I'm gonna be here for 3 hours, and you can sit there for 15 minutes, and if you don't want to be here, awesome. Like honoring stuff, I think is also that shift around that. And then of course, as we know, the body holds a score for trauma. So if your pussy has not experienced absolute turn on and openness, and the labia hasn't had the experience to reach out and your pussy sucks the cock in when it's ready, then the score that's held is the contraction and the numbness. So until you rewire, until you fully take ownership of the time, it could take 3 hours before penetration. Awesome. Because the patriarchal view of sex is P and V. It's like, well, I didn't get off. So now I've got, and all of this thing around blue balls and something's going to happen to me if I don't get to, all of that stuff that comes from the schoolyard and young male sex of like, oh,
Yeah.
it's going to, it's like, well, if you've got blue balls, it's because your energy is stuck there. You've got to do your own work to raise it up your spine, all of that stuff. So that comes to what we're talking about before we got on when you asked me this, is like the Taoists teach that sex is designed for the female body to feel more. And yet our culture, patriarchal sex, is it's designed for the man to get off. He has
100%.
access to something to get off.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Mm.
I think it was Susan Bratton that started to say this, that when she was on this podcast, that it's like a man only having penetration with a flaccid penis his whole life. Like, how
Mhm.
pleasurable is that really going to be? Because that's how it can feel for a woman for some, most, or all of her life. They're the options,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, and that's that it's so normal and accepted, that even
Mhm.
women have internalized this idea that they're taking too long. Like the amount of women that I've worked with, and I remember passing through that place myself, of course, as well, of like, well, I feel bad. I feel bad if he's having to wait, and there's this paradigm, like I've have women actually said it to me. It's like, yeah, I don't want him to get bored, or, I want him to be happy, or, all these really over accommodating behaviors in women
Mhm.
that are just about pleasing. And she'll just cut herself out of that pleasing altogether and just,
Mhm.
willingly put herself in that position because she literally doesn't know that there are other options.
Mhm. When I love that about what Susan said, because also, in our sexual education, we're not taught. I mean, the penis is a oversized clitoris. If you look at the if you look at the tissue makeup, the construct of the clitoris and the construct of the penis, it's exactly the same tissue arranged differently. So
Yes.
they have an outward oversized clitoris. And that's it. If it wasn't trying to have, there's nothing wrong with soft cock. It's a beautiful aspect of lovemaking. But
Yes.
every single time, and the shame that comes up with it. And that's the thing, if often men are dealing with shame and embarrassment. But a woman internalize her shame and embarrassment and like make sure that, he's looked after while she's not erect or aroused. And this thing of like, he may be bored and he may get annoyed. Honey, he is getting access to the queendom, the kingdom, the universe, the
Yeah.
access to this is God consciousness that you hold inside of your body, and you're concerned whether he's a bit bored. That's a him problem. Because he doesn't have enough skills, because he hasn't studied sexuality. He wants to have sex with you. I always say this to like, look, a guy wants to play soccer. He wants to get to, let's even look at David Beckham's arena, yeah? He wants to be on the famous Spanish team or whatever is for soccer and wants to make money out of his soccer. He's got to train. He trains on his own. He trains with the team. He eats well so that he can train on his own and train with the team. He sleeps well so he can train on his own and all the different things. And anyone that wants to take up a new hobby or a sport, you want to drive a car, you've got to learn how to drive the car. No one gives you the keys to a car. Yet women walk around being raised that their partners have access to their body without doing any study of anatomy. And there's also the other side of it. This is what patriarchal sex is. It's like you get to have access to all of this without any knowledge.
Yes, yes. And
Excuse
if
me.
we're, yeah, exactly. And if we're talking about cars, you know, there's that analogy of it's like you have a Ferrari and yet you're driving it like some piece of shit car,
The
right?
Honda, the little Honda.
Right? I don't know cars to say the analogy exactly, but thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't heard it that way, but that's amazing. To me, it's like you have, if a Ferrari made a limo, if a Ferrari made a plushed out limo like that, that's like, it's like, oh my God, the most incredible thing on the planet. And yeah, yeah, you're driving like the unregistered, there's no petrol in it, little Honda with flat tires. That's how you're treating it. I
Treating
love
it
it.
like
I love
that.
just going beyond, like keep on going.
Yes, yes,
Oh my
yes.
goodness. Such a great analogy. I've never heard that before, but I'm going to be using that.
Yeah, it's really true because I mean and it obviously goes both ways because the woman
Mhm.
doesn't know that she is that or has that, but he also doesn't know. And so driving that
Mhm.
unregistered Honda seems to be, well, this is what everyone else is doing. I do, you know?
Everyone's broken down at the traffic lights, such as divorce. It's so interesting because this is also too the result of patriarchal sex and misogyny is like how women are really taking part in misogyny of
Yes,
not learning about,
yes, which is internalized misogyny, and that,
yes, yeah.
you know,
Mm.
features definitely in the work that women learn with me, you know, and to start implementing practical ways to go beyond patriarchal sex in your life, I've created some easy step-by-step, low-cost ways for you to start having that outcome now. These are to elevate relationship with yourself, with a future partner, or to transform the relationship you are already in, whether you're a man or a woman. These practical steps are effective, they're tested, and they are somatic things that you can start today so that you don't default into old patterns that bring the same disappointment and resentments, no matter how long you may have felt stuck in what you don't want. So, see the link in the show notes to register for your guide to going beyond patriarchal sex. What did it take for you or others that you witness, women, to realize that it's not about that? They don't need to be treated that way. They don't need to participate in sex in that way. That far more is available. What did you notice, or what do you notice for others, is some of those first places that come up to come out of that way of being and thinking?
Oh, I love this. I love this question. It's very layered.
Yes.
For myself personally, what I had to really move through was all of these aspects of if I didn't play the game and I actually took radical responsibility for myself and I really showed up in my pleasure and learned about my pleasure, I had to really work with the punishment paradigm. And it's so deep being raised in a Christian aspect of life that I would be punished, I would miss out, because this is a survival thing. Yeah, our primal brain. If we're not loved, if we know that we're loved, we're accepted, then we belong. If we belong, we won't die. That's what the primal brain is working with all the time. It's tethering to all of those three things because survival, safety is not dying. So looking at the fear of like, well, if I was to claim my pleasure and I was to, run my own show, like have my own boundaries and not be attached to whether the lover or the partner was, just to be willing to a no. It's like what comes up is punishment. I'm not talking about physical punishment that I'm going to be abused. The punishment of like, I'm a bitch. I'm too much. Well, who the hell do I think I am? And I'm like, who the hell do I think I am? Melissa Louise. This is my life. And that took a lot. And it's like, hang on a minute, this is my life. It's like, well, what if they get it? What if? And it's like, okay, what if? What if?
Mm.
And changing it, it's also like the process of changing it from the boundary to like, oh, the invitation. This is a glorious invitation.
Yeah.
And as we learn, because I'm just giggling to myself. I've come up with so many things like, damn, I'm heterosexual. Like, I wish, like I've gone through that. Like I've gone through these like, oh my God, why? Like I'm not into women. And sometimes I wish I was so much more into women at times. But my big thing too is like, I was afraid, like I had to go down into that. We have to get really honest. Is like, I was actually afraid of men. And so then to then learn to honor men, to learn to also, like I'm learning around my sexual responses, around my body, looking at my body, looking at my vulva, doing all of that, like deconstructing all of these things I was afraid of, because it's all part of the pot. And then like, how do I honor a man? Learning about his genitalia, and then it becomes this invitation of like, this is what's available.
Yes.
This is where I want to play. And it's okay that you don't, because I'm really good on my own. Because the truth is, the majority of sex is very underwhelming for women. It's so underwhelming. So I had to like go, okay, sex is actually going to be really underwhelming. And a lot of sex is. Even as a sex coach, an intimacy coach, it's like even with all of so much sex around, like, because I live in a town where people move through. So it's like it's often underwhelming when it comes to just, it's like I've got to create the container, got to
Yeah.
create invitation. And if it's okay that you don't want to come to the invitation, well, guess what? I have an incredible life on my own.
Yes, I want to come back to this last part, but want to go back to what you were sharing, Melissa Louise. I heard three main things that you faced and that maybe other women can relate to and face, which the first one was this realization of your programming. So a religious influence in your case and a sense of punishment if you move through that threshold,
Yeah.
which is breaking a spell, quite frankly,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Mm.
And
Mm.
and then you also mentioned the getting to know yourself and your own body, really sensing you, looking at you, feeling you. And you mentioned the same for a man, but also I think you started to say the fear of men. And I would add to that in a typical scenario for women, um, anger, from having experienced what you don't want over and over again. It tends to develop an enormous amount of resentment and not just anger, but full out rage. And there's often going to be a process to unleash that, get in touch with that, and be able to let it out. Like, I had a lot of patriarchal men around me in my childhood, and some of my early experiences. So for the amount of exploration that I've done, which you've also shared, that you have, so much training, so many experiences beyond the norm, beyond patriarchal sex. For me, there's no way that I could have, had these adventures in the world of erotic arts if I hadn't uh, faced the amount of trauma and pain and suffering and anger that I had. There's no way that I could have been genuinely interested in getting to really know a man's system and his body. And yeah, so I just want to
Mm.
emphasize how important that is. because I know that there are some women that listen to this podcast and they would like to be in that place of living beyond patriarchal sex, but they're so fucking angry.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I want to point out, it's like when we're looking at our rage, and when we're looking at the body holds a score, and, you know, now science is speaking very openly about epigenetics. Our rage is not just our own. And this is also when we're looking at sex is designed for the female body to feel more. And it's not just to feel more pleasure, it's designed to alchemize our life and generations. So when we bleed, like to bleed on the land, you know, it's like it's healing generations to bleed on the land. There's a beautiful saying actually that I heard when I used to live in Peru, but it's from the 13 grandmothers. It's like when more blood is soaked into the land from women bleeding on the land, there will be less war,
Yes.
you know, like bringing back that balance. But when we look at the three gateways of our orgasm through the Taoist teachings, the clitoris is the primal gate, the first gateway, sorry, it's the physical gateway. It prepares the body, prepares the vagina. When we're looking at the emotional gateway, which some man created a spot, which is obvious he didn't turn. I always laugh. It's called the G spot. And it's like, well, to be called a
Oh, I
G,
know.
he
I know.
didn't turn the woman on. He has no idea how to turn a woman on, because if he's just feeling a small little thing, then he's not even, he's feeling the deflated, contracted gland. So if he wants to call it a spot, he's never turned a woman on. So it's just, I mean, just calling it a spot proves he had no idea what he was doing.
Well, not
Sorry.
just the spot, he's called it the Grafenberg spot after himself, which
I know,
is just,
after himself, it's like, sweetheart, it's like, we had it before you were born. Women have had it forever.
it's like
Like,
graffitiing inside a sacred ancient cave with your name, like a graffiti tag. It's like, dude, get out of there.
oh my God, it's such a great analogy. I love it. I'm getting so many analogies from this. This is so fantastic. So that's actually the emotional orgasm. So when women are patriarchal sex is women stop themselves from crying during orgasm. Women stop themselves from they feel anger and they repress it during orgasm. Yeah. But the gland, the sacred area, which is the emotional orgasm, is designed to release your great grandmothers, your grandmothers, your mothers, yours, your family dynamic that's going on. This is the alchemical, this is how you alchemize the relationship, your visions, your dreams. And by, it's, oh, there's something wrong with me, or that's really weird. And if a man is not supported or taught and he doesn't seek, how do I support my beloved when she's going, when it's, if he's not saying, I've got you, oh my God, baby, I've got you, like, yes, what else, what else? Then he's completely shutting down the lineage release. So, the body holds the score. And the only way we speak about body holding the score is the trauma that we've had in this lifetime. And it's like, but so we're talking about epigenetics over here. The body
Yes.
holds the score here, and we've got to have sex to connect here. It's like, this is all threaded because we are so incredibly immense and capable that we can hold all of this in our body. That's us. That's the woman. We hold all of this in our body.
I just love how you went to like lean back into your throne chair when you said that.
We are so immense and capable. It is, people cannot handle the concept of how capable we are, that they can't even look at it. Oh.
Yes. So knowing that we have an audience of men, women, whoever listening to this, Melissa Louise, what would you like to bring? What more would you like to bring to the patriarchal sex defining of it, or the what it takes to live beyond it, or just any other insights on the topic that you'd like to share?
We're in life as a co-creation, and we are completely like when I say completely responsible, our autonomy and the sovereignty of a woman is absolutely necessary. Women need to take the beautiful, I was going to say the absolute responsibility, but the beautiful responsibility. And responsibility is the ability to respond appropriately. We need to take on that ability to respond appropriately to life because we're in it. So knowing our cycle, knowing our pleasure. And men, your pleasure, how it works in your body, taking full responsibility for your sexual energy and how to move it through your body, to understand you've come and to fully, when I say understand, like fully take it in that you have come from a womb and you have moved through as the human through a vagina and you were delivered to the world from a woman. So you do need, if you want to be having sex with women, you truly need to become well-versed in the cycle of a woman, well-versed in the pleasure of the woman that you're, and yes, it is her responsibility to have her boundaries, the invitation. So in that, as we weave together, she will also learn about your pleasure, like your cock and your testicles and the how to move the energy through your body. But that is also your responsibility as a man to know how to do that in your own body. The woman's body is not a place for you. It's not a waste product. Like your ejaculate's not a waste product. It's not this thing to be thrown away into inside of the body. Like when it is released inside of the woman, like it gets absorbed through her vaginal walls. And this is such exquisite, you know, it's such an exquisite thing, but it's also a thing that is, it's really sacred. So take responsibility for your ejaculate, full responsibility for your ejaculate. Move it through your body, hold it, breathe, present yourself in front of the feminine like she's going to be inviting you in. So how are you going to present yourself for the invitation? I could go on and on and on. I've suddenly got very poetic because I leant back in my chair. That's what happens. I'm different than I was half an hour ago. But we are fully responsible for our own sexual energy, our own sexuality, our own sensuality. And we're responsible within our own worlds of that. So even in relationships, self-pleasure in your own time is absolutely necessary. It's paramount. To have each other's body as the source of pleasure and as the source of sex is actually, it's a bit, if we think about it on an energetic level, it's insane. Because you can't get onto the soccer field for the huge soccer match on a Saturday with these two top teams and trying to go for like to win without training. So self-pleasure and understand is your training before you get to it. And I heard something the other night. It's like, you know, like being a relationship coach and working with couples, this thing about date nights. And I heard someone reframe. It's like, why are we not doing temple nights? Getting together, you're like, you go out for, you know, you get dressed up, you put on the lippy, he has a shower, puts on his nice shirt, you go and sit in a restaurant with other people as your connection time. Yes, and more. Like, of course, you need to have meals together. Not all of them. You need to have some meals together. But creating the temple night, the discovery night, the amount of attention that you place into raising children and building a business. And let's break that down as a couple together with family and business. Like, I think we need to bring up, we should be ashamed of ourselves at the amount of time, effort, attention that is placed into business, children, schooling, the bigger house, the second car. So you're doing all of that to place the two people in the relationship in it, but where is the attention to the relationship? If you're going to, this is patriarchal sex, the attention goes to business. Well, what are you in business for? Like, what are you in business for? For the children. Okay, how much time have you spent with them? Oh, the woman that also birthed them through her vagina, how much time has been spent to discover all of that and be in all of that. Like, we really need to deconstruct where our attention is placed. Because if a CEO on the other side of the world for a company that you work for online gets the best of you and your partner doesn't, you should be ashamed. And I'm saying that because we need to say that to ourselves. It's like, so that we break out of it. It's like, how shameful is that? That is where, that's who gets our effort.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
shameful.
And I'm really appreciating your voice as a mother, as a woman with children who's been through, and I heard you say earlier before I press record that your son is all grown up and he's not living with you anymore, but you know what it's like to be in the complexity of all of that hectic practicality of being a mum, taking care of kids and having, attempting to keep an intimate relationship going at the same time. And I think it's really important for women, especially here, to hear from you how possible it is that they can actually live the way they really want to live in that configuration, just doing it differently, though.
Can I dissect that a little bit? Because that comes back to the beginning when you asked about the fear, yeah, when we're
Yeah.
looking at the prime brain. So patriarchal sex has tethered women to open their legs to have a roof over their head.
Mm-hmm.
Patriarchal sex has created prostitution out of wives. I'm going to say it out loud and I'll say it loud. Patriarchal sex has prostituted women and mothers because it has been deemed that a man and a woman, monogamy, this monogamous concept, that what we call monogamy now, monogamy is an agreement between two people. People will sign a paper in a church. They'll sign a contract that has been agreed by the church and the government of how it's going to work. That's not agreement between two people. We're given the fallacy of our vows. Those vows are still under the construct that we've put a ring on each other and we've got a white dress and we spent thousands of dollars to feed people in front of someone else, and we're signing a contract that's not ours. Everyone signs the same contract. It's not an agreement between two people. So a woman and a man in a household raising children are raising children in a trauma-based existence. Because we all know, we often hear this sense that it takes a village to raise a child. So where's the village? The village has abandoned the child. But it doesn't just take a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a relationship. It takes a village to raise humanity. But we, patriarchal sex talks, the nice little term, oh, it takes a village to raise a child. It's like, well, the child has to get here first. So where's the village before the child gets here type thing? So in that sense, sex is tethered to make sure, patriarchal sex is tethered so that you you get in the relationship. You're going to be good enough to get the relationship, the prize. And therefore, now you're going to have a roof over your head. So you're going to have safety for your children because this one man is going to create that. And the man is like, this one woman's going to give me children and I'm going to create the roof. That is trauma-based existence. We have the results everywhere. Cortisol-driven lifestyle, drug addiction, alcoholism, workaholism, 56% divorce rate now. Like, it's not working. And we're bullied into think it does. So I did raise a child on my own. And I left the relationship when he was 2.5. And this is a huge thing that we as single mothers think is, and the question actually, the father of my child actually said this in a message to me the other day. What the hell were you doing? I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was working 3 jobs, I was paying all of the bills, and I was raising my child. I was actually doing 5 jobs, as in like the cook, the cleaner. I actually saw an incredible reel the other day where they broke down what a stay-at-home mum If everything was outsourced, it's $244,000 per year of the amount of work she's doing. So if we're going to go under the patriarchal model, you better be earning $500,000 and giving half of that to the person that's doing all of that work. Because if you were to outsource it, you're going to have to earn $500,000 to pay it and still have money left over.
Yeah, 100%. We've been talking about this on this podcast. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the danger, when I go into danger, the danger of a woman who decides to be a single mother because like 17 years, I was looking down a barrel of a gun to me. It was like, I'm no wonder mums are, become alcoholic and they get addicted to Prozac. I'm not saying men don't either. That we're required because we're left holding the baby. Patriarchal sex allows the man to leave and then blame the mother for how the child's raised. This is such a huge, deep layered thing. So yes, I raised my child on my own, and I took him out of Australia. I raised him Central South America, because if I was going to spend 17 years not getting enough sleep, doing everything, I'm not going to be in a country like Australia where rents are so freaking high. I'm not supported by the government. I'm not supported by culture and society. This is also too, when we look at languaging. When the man, when a single mother, it's like, oh, she should have chosen better. He's not in the picture in any of that conversation, those statements. All of this tethering of our language that towards the fault of the woman, and that's what patriarchal sex is. It's the fault of the woman. And so, the fault of the woman, if the 16-year-old gets in trouble, and this is what I saw all the time as a single mother. When a couple is together and the 16-year-old does what 16-year-olds do, it's like, yeah, it's that age. A single mother has a 16-year-old that does what 16-year-olds do. So, yeah, well, she's a single mother. She's not home enough. Or, wow, she's doing. The language using is insane. So a 16-year-old in a couple, in like a heterosexual relationship, mum, dad at home, is allowed to make mistakes. A 16-year-old raised by a single parent is not given the same grace. This is patriarchal sex.
Yeah.
So it's so many layers.
I'm so happy you shared all of that and being willing to talk about your personal experience as well. And I mean, just the paradigm of marriage in itself. And I mean, it's still now in 2025, even with so many people breaking down these norms and choosing to live differently, there is still this sense of stigma for a woman that if she isn't living that particular life that looks that way, then she is not successful, that she has not made it. And there's a reason why you got out of it, and there's a reason why I never got into it in the first place, you know?
Do you know, actually, someone asked me, and this is one of my lovers, he's never had children, and he prefaced the question, and we were live on one of his platforms when we were doing something, because we're talking all about polyamory and all of this stuff. And he said, look, I ask every lover of mine, or every woman I come across, especially like, I don't know if he said it was single parenting, like, but I guess if it was his lovers, yes. So women that are, or not. And his question was to me, if I had my time again, knowing what I know now, would I have a child? Without even thinking, the answer is no. Because I would refuse to go through another 17 years of being burned at the stake by my government, by culture, by everyone around me, because you become the dangerous woman. So this is the other thing. When I was talking about danger, I was a single mother that loved my life. Yeah. I lived very humbly. I would live in time. My son and I close slept till we were 12 because I would rather travel to Peru, live in the jungle of Costa Rica, do all this stuff than like pay a mortgage and do all of this stuff. But for me to do that, we co-slept. And it was always his choice. I always had houses, but when we were traveling. And I loved my life. My kid would, the whole thing of like, I was speaking with the client that I was on before here, we're talking about, the Turkish culture and the Greek culture and the Spanish culture. The children don't have a bedtime. That's another thing we do. The children don't have to be in bed by 7:30. The restaurants are all around a plaza. So all the adults go out and the kids are all in the center. And the kids when they're hungry, they will go to find their parent. And their parent's got food sitting there. Parents having a glass of wine, their water, the men are smoking their cigars. Everyone's spending 5 effing hours to eat a meal while the kids are all playing. Oh, it's 11 o'clock. Why should they be in bed? So I raised my child this way, and he would get exhausted 7 or 8 or 9. He'd just sleep at my feet under the table. So we'd be out at live music, doing all of that. My kid was with me all the time, carry him on my back, all of that stuff. But because I wasn't miserable, I was fucking dangerous to women in relationships. And it used to make me laugh. It's like, and because you don't, and I know I've spoken to a lot of women about this. Once you're divorced or if you're separated, you don't get invited to the couple barbecues. This is patriarchal stuff. You don't get invited because you're happy, you're joyful, you don't have a man. So it's like to bring a single woman into the mix. And I remember this come up once and I went, oh, honey, I left a relationship because I wanted to be happy. There's no reason I want to go for your husband and be miserable. That's your job. You're doing that really fucking well. I really like my life. I'm not interested in this scenario. So that's a part of the danger of like, we as a woman, we're dangerous if we own our desire. If we want to live differently, we're going to own it. Oh, you're going to be persecuted.
Yes,
You're going to find a different
I'm traveling around the world happily doing my thing, the shock and horror of your family's not with you, you don't have a husband. But Melissa, Louise, but do you believe it's possible to have an empowered, co-empowered relationship with all that with all that you know and understand and have educated yourself about and lived beyond patriarchal paradigms? Yeah.
My goodness, yes. And it takes courage. Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes courage. And the issue is so many people truly don't have the courage because it's also about comfortability, the comfortability of what we know. So, and then the fear, and then many people have fear of being punished. Well, I'll get my Medicare taken away. I'll get all of the things that come up about living a life. I'm talking about many different layers here. But if we're bringing our relationship back into the center and all of the layers of what it takes to relate, then we've got to be dedicated to that, which means why be a CEO that's away from your family 18 hours of the day? If you want a good relationship, you've got to deconstruct your choices. And many people are not willing to give up their choices, even though they're miserable in what it's creating. So it's definitely, definitely possible. We're amazing. We're human beings. We're highly intelligent. We're just not using it. We're incredible. So let's do it. Let's go. Excellent. Let's walk into excellence.
Yes.
It takes.
So what I'm hearing you say here as we wind up towards the end is coming back to this social collective awareness, and under patriarchy and capitalism and such, it's like how you appear to other people, what is more prestigious or more socially acceptable in the eyes of other people, when that's prioritized, or maybe money as well, when that's prioritized over your own damn happiness and like actual fulfillment and this deep bone knowing that you're really who you are and living the life that you really want.
Yeah.
That's more from the feminine, as in the principle of the feminine. And so when the culture itself doesn't permit as such this living from the inside out. The unproductive, so-called unproductive, being important and being just as worthy and valid, if not more, you know. So part of breaking down the paradigm or dissolving and going beyond the paradigm of patriarchal sex would be looking at the construct of how someone chooses to fit into it outside of the bedroom per se. And
Well, it's like how we show up in life is how we show up in the bedroom, you
yes,
know? It's like
yes,
yeah, it goes hand in hand.
yes,
You know, there's a really beautiful saying. It's like the patriarchal places the man in the middle, you know, the solo man, because we have big business, all of that, capitalism, it's all of that. Whereas the matriarch places the children in the middle, the community in the middle.
yes,
You go, why? And so when you're taking care of a community, you know, rest is important. So there's not illness, you know, cohesiveness is important. So there's not rupture.
yes,
With the patriarchy is just like slash and burn. We've got it. It's so interesting to me. It's like when we look at slowing down, it's like, oh, I've got to do all of these things. It's like what, to be in hospital? The
yeah,
patriarch has got a fantastic solution for your stress and your illness. They're then going to charge you to feed you more chemicals. Sorry. I'm just like, look, do you know what I mean? It's like we have a solution. The patriarch is going to make you sick, and then they're going to place you in their asylum, which is a hospital, to supposedly fix you. But the root of all disease is stress.
yes, yes. So this sense of nourishing life and
Mm,
health and
mm,
aliveness. And this is a really important point that not that many people are saying. So I really want to highlight the way that you said it here, that the priority with patriarchy or the center of that is man, is productivity, is money, is yeah. And
solo
in
man. And
solo man at that, yes. And matriarchy, people would think it's woman, but it's not. It's, as you
not.
said, children,
Mm-hmm.
community. And I want to add, because you're saying it without saying the word, eros
Mm,
in the center. This is for the
mm,
benefit of all, the health and well-being and happiness and connection to life itself. Central.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a beautiful place to maybe end here.
Yeah.
And it's been really beautiful to meet you in this way. And how can everyone know about what you offer and how can they find you?
Oh, thank you. Yes. So, I mean, I would say for everyone, just get on my Substack because we have freedom there still. You know, the patriarchal has removed my businesses all on YouTube and Instagram many times. So,
Really?
so getting into Substack is really great. So, you know, the links here to and so sign up to my email. And then, you know, for men that are here is going, how do I show up for my woman? How do I, you know, last longer? How do I do all of that? I haven't, you know, I've worked for men a lot longer than I've worked with women actually. So I have a program, it's melissalouise.world /man. And that's my, you know, my short program of like teaching men how to work their sexual energy, but I work one-on-one with clients. So I take people through containers 4 to 6 months. So I work with couples, men and women separately, all of that stuff. So yes, so get onto my Substack. Do follow me on Instagram, but you know, we never know how long it's going to be there.
True.
So get into my email, get into Substack because I've got my podcasts all in there. My everything's from there. So yeah, very accessible.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay. All the links will be here. And
Yeah.
thank you for being the woman that you are. Thank you for being courageous
Mm.
to share everything that you have today, calling things like they are, and not being afraid of that. And I know that for a woman to live in this unleashed way and not be afraid to say what you want to say, it takes a lot, actually. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
And so thank you for meeting
Mm.
with me. Thank you for bringing your
Oh,
beautiful and real take on what it is to live beyond patriarchal sex. And yeah, just really pleased to meet you here, Melissa.
Oh, it has been such a pleasure. As we said, like we've just met, and it's been such a pleasure to be in your presence and to be this. So thank you. I want to thank you for inviting me. Seriously, it's an honor. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing this episode with your friends if it's moved you. And know that sharing it genuinely does help to spread this message and also to attract more interesting speakers to join the Beyond Patriarchal Sex conversation. And if you're a woman who'd like to get an exclusive discount to the full signature program of how to live beyond patriarchal sex, then write a 5-star review on either Apple or Spotify, take a screenshot and send it in to the email address below to get the reduced rate to the full course called I Broke the Spell. And keep tuning in to these weekly episodes so that we can all be part of shifting division into connection for ourselves and for the coming generations.